Hi everyone, it's Jen from Carta Bella Designs, and today I am working on a project for Country Craft Creations design team, and I will be making the fun little album you saw in my walkthrough using the new Echo Park Ghosts and Goblins super cute collection. So I chose to make a 6.5 by 8.5 album with a 2-inch spine. It will have 3 signatures. One top pocket page in the middle, and the 2 outer signatures will be side pocket pages. Lots of fun for places for photos. I have not yet decided what I'm putting on the inside, front, and back covers, but I will put that at the end of this once we get the signatures done. For this, you will need 2 pieces of heavyweight chipboard, 6.5 by 8.5. The black artisan to cover those would be 8.5 by 10.5, so 2 of those. And then for your spine, you will have a 2 by 8.5 inch piece of the chipboard, and the paper for that is 5 by 10.5. This piece of paper on the inside to cover is 5 by about 8 3/8. And I have the link below to show you how to do that lay flat method. I already have mine done. Your hinge piece that we will use to put our pages onto, let me just move this real quick, will look like this. So you'll have 3 places to put pages, and we'll have 1/2 inch spaces on either side and between the pages. For that, you need a 4-inch by 8.25 inch piece, and that will be scored at every 1/2 inch. So you're going to score that at 1/2, 1, 1.5, 2, 2.5, 3, and 3.5. And I'm going to go back over those again because I can use this hinge in an upcoming book when I do another one this size. Okay, so you want to fold that first one up, leave a 1/2 inch, fold the next 2 up, leave a 1/2 inch, and fold the next 2. So it'll look like this. And then you will put your glue inside of these, and that when you're done, it will look like this. And then we'll add our glue to this and put that down in our book. Okay, so for the first signature, which is going to be a side pocket page, we have a few pieces here. I'm going to go over 1A's pieces first. You're going to have a base page that is 11 by 8.25. And you will have a flap that's going to add on to that, which is 4.5 by 8.25. And then a side pocket that goes on the bottom, not side, a bottom pocket. This will be a little less than 6.5 by 4. Okay? Excuse me. The reason for the little bit less is because if we do it right at 6.5, which mine is, I'm going to have to trim mine just a bit. If we do that, we run into the possibility of it not fitting over when we have a flap. So I'm going to take just a teensy bit off of mine. We're talking teensy, like this little bit. All right, so we're going to get started with the base. So my base page, that is 11 by 8.25. I'm going to put that in my scoreboard at 11. I'm going to score this at 1/2. And add a 3/4. And make sure that you get really good score lines. Then we're going to go over and we're going to score this at 6.25. Again, really good score lines. I'm going to fold that last score line over. And I like to do this while it's still in my scoreboard. As you can see, it's kind of resisting me, but we want everything to line right up. So make sure that your paper is all in a line, top and bottom, side to side, and then burnish that flap over. All right, so this is what you have. Okay, then we're going to grab this piece that is 4.5 by 8.25, and we're going to score this on the 4.5 at 1/2. Now, if you don't trust your cutting, you can always score it at 4 to be sure, rather than the 1/2. I am going to miter the tops of these, my corners, and I am going to fold and burnish that 1/2 inch, just like so. And this is going to attach, we have our flap that comes this way. This is going to attach right here. So you want to line this up before you add your glue. And you can do this with your scoreboard or you can eyeball it. Now I am finding lately, sometimes when I use my scoreboard, it tends to slip. And I don't want any slippage. I want this to line both sides nice and neat, and mine does. So I'm going to go ahead. It's not lining up on the top though. Now it is. All right, once you have that all nice and lined up, you should have about, I think it's 3/4, yes. 3/4, not quite 3/4 of an inch of space on this side. Okay, so that is that part. I'm going to open this up and we're going to add this bottom pocket. For the bottom pocket, you have a 6.5 by 4, little bit less, like I said, than that 6.5. We're going to score this at 1/2, turn so that it's on the 4, and I'm going to score mine at 3.5 because I want a 3.5 inch pocket. So just in case I didn't cut straight or exact, I want to make sure. So I scored that at 1/2 on 3 sides. And you can make a smaller pocket. It doesn't have to be this big as far as the height. I like a big chunky pocket. Gives me more room to embellish. So this is what you have. We're going to go ahead and we're going to fold on our side score lines only for starters. And I'm going to dry fit this. Before I do any gluing, I need to make sure that little sliver I cut off was enough, and it is. Once I have that done, I can go ahead, fold that bottom gusset, and I didn't get quite enough mitering here. I can tell because I'm puckering up. If you find that your corners want to pucker a little bit, it's usually because you need to miter a little bit more. All right, there we go. And this one's doing the same. Oh yes, I did not miter that well at all. All right, good to go. Now I'm going to give my pocket a really good burnish on all these lines because I want a nice, crisp pocket. And I have that now, so I'm going to go in and put glue on my 1/2 inch gussets. Easy stuff. Then remember, we're going to open this, so we have our little Z fold. We're going to flip that over. And you want to put this by that 1/4 inch give space. Do not go over it. Try to go right to where you can still see the indentation of your score line there. Make sure this lines up and this still closes. Mine does, so I'm going to go ahead and burnish. Whoops. Well, that wasn't what I meant to do. And then I'm going to go in and fold my 1/4 inch line and just give that another good burnish. And my pocket has a little overhang here, just a little corner from where I mitered. And a little excess glue there. And there we have our Z-fold page, like so. Okay. So for side B, oh, we will be putting, just so you know, we will be putting a magnet under here as well as down here, and that's what's going to hold this closed. Flip that over. Make sure that you're on the right side. So your Z-fold is this way. We're going to flip this all the way over like so, which is where we will want to be. And we are going to grab the top that's going to turn this into a pocket page. So this is going to be 6 by 9 1/4. And I'm just making sure that mine lines up because I don't want it not to. So on the 9 1/4, you want to score it half. And then I'm going to take my ruler and just make sure that if I'm at 8 1/4, see, this is a little bit off. I'm not quite sure. Oh no, that's right. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah. All right. Go ahead and flip it around then and score it half. And then we're going to flip it again and we're going to score this at 5 1/2. Just to be sure we get a nice fit. And I am going to rescore these to ensure and I get a good score. Go ahead and miter. And that is going to become our pocket. So the first thing I want to do is dry fit. So I'm going to get this pocket prepared. Get everything folded over. I feel like, yeah, it did it again. I'm not quite sure what is going on with my paper today. I apologize. But I'm going to smooth this score line back out. And I am going to get a little bit better score by using a skinnier scoring tool here. So I'm going to go to my 1/2 inch. All right, maybe that'll work a little bit better in my favor because it was not scoring for me. At least not straight. All right, that's a little better. So now I have my 1/2 inch. No, it's still crooked. Not sure what's going on here. Let's see if we're crooked when we put this in. Oh yeah, big time. All right, I'm gonna go off camera really quick and recut this piece. I'm not quite sure what happened. Your size is right. Okay, so I had to recut mine. I must have made a mistake when I cut mine and it just was not cooperating. So I've already gone ahead and folded over my gussets on the bottom. Now I'm just going to get this side gusset all better. And I did dry fit mine, but I'm going to do that again with you just to show you what I mean. I'm a little over here, so I'm going to fix that. And it looks like it's this one that's a little over here. And that's good. Okay. So this, if you bring in your page, again, this is our A side. Flip this over. We want our opening over here. So this is going to line up with that 1/4 inch. So I'm going to go ahead and fold my 1/4 inch so that I have 5 1/2 inches showing. And I'm going to dry fit this just to make sure I have no overhang anywhere, and I don't. So now I can go in and I can add glue. And I like to do the bottom, the largest gusset first, just to be sure that it does still all line up. So I am going to put this up against here and line that up nice and neatly with the top. And mine is sliding, and this is what happened last time. And I had to redo the whole thing. You don't want to do that again. All right, so we have our pocket top on. And just burnish the inside. Now this is where you would add tape, Scotch tape, if you so desire, so that whatever you put in this pocket slides a little bit easier. I do like to do this a little trick here. And I'm just running simple Scotch tape. And I got too much, which happens. Let's just burnish that out so it doesn't cause an issue. You don't want to have any wrinkles if you do the Scotch tape trick. Because then obviously it defeats the purpose of things not getting hung up. Just I have a little craft knife here somewhere. Let me fix this. I should be able to peel that off. There we go. Okay. Now I can add glue to my side hinges. And then pull this back. Let's burnish that tape down a little bit. And then I'll just pull this over. Yes, this is a much better fit than the first time I attempted this. I don't know what happened, but it was not good. My measurements or something were off. All right, so let's take a look here. That looks a lot better. We do still have a little bit of, but it's just the scoring. So I'm just going to run that across there. And everything lines up. So this is what you have. On A, you have your pocket and your little Z-fold pocket here, which is coming undone. I need more glue. Get a better stick there. All right. So make sure you're on the right side. I'm going to flip this back over again. And we're going to add another little flippy-doo on the back side. All right, so for this flap, you're going to have a 9 1/4. I have 9 1/2 written here. I apologize. 9 1/4 by 8 1/4. You're going to put this in your scoreboard, and we're going to score this at 1/2 and at 5. Okay. Now fold that under. And that's going to make this little flap mechanism. And we're going to put our 1/2 inch gusset and add glue to that. And my glue wants to clog on me. Just love it when it does that. And then we want to make sure that we are on the proper side. So here is your side A. You flip to side B. This needs to butt up right here. So you want to make sure that it all goes in line with this page. You don't want any overages because we have a pocket page. We want to make sure everything lines up. Give it a good burnish. Flip that open. And give it a good burnish on the inside as well. Wipe off all this stickiness. All right, so that is that flap. Now, you might think, we're going to have to put a magnet here. But we are not, because, well, I'm a little off here. I'm going to straighten mine out just a bit. Okay. We are going to have a vertical pocket over here. So this is a 1 1/2 by 9 1/4. Easy stuff. We're just going to score this at 1/2 on 3 sides. So 1/2. I'm going to score mine at 1. And then I'm going to flip it all the way around again, and I'm going to score it half. This little pocket will act as a tuck spot for a photo mat. I am not going to miter that top corner because there's not a lot there, and I want to make sure that I have enough paper to tuck something in. Okay, this is not mitered enough though. Let me fix it. Same thing here. All right, so this little pocket is going to go on the side. I'm going to dry fit this real quick. Mine fits. So I'm going to go ahead and burnish this pocket out. All my folds. And you can miter that. I choose not to because there's not a lot there, space-wise. And I want to have some paper there to attach to the page, or otherwise it might fall off. All right, so make sure that your pocket opening faces this part of your pullout. Just going to put this right up here next to that 1/4 inch of give space. Line it up so it does not go over. And line it up top and bottom. And mine is being silly. All right, there we go. So now you'll have this, and we'll put something here that will actually hold this page down, and it'll all look like one page. Okay, so that's signature A. Signature 1, A and B. We will move on to signature 2. Your signature 2 base is 12 by 8 3/4, and this one is going to fold over to make our page. So we're going to start with our paper on the 12, and we're going to score it half. And I am going to use a little different score tool this time because I'm not getting that crispness. And then we're going to score at 3/4, and then we're going to score at 6 1/4. And you will note that that leaves you your 5 1/2 inch page here, but it only leaves 5 3/4 here. So we have to also score this at 11 1/4, and that's just going to give you that tiny little 1/4 inch at the end. Flip this around so that you are on the 8 3/4 and score it half. All the way down. All right. So now we're going to do a little cutting. Right down here on the side where we did our 1/2 and 1/4, we're going to cut this bottom section completely out and miter just this portion of it. So you'll have this. Okay. Then we're going to miter this one as well. And I am going to actually use a sliding cutter to cut mine out because I want it perfectly straight. You could do this with a craft knife. You could do this with your scissors. I am not the straightest cutter, so I prefer to do it on my cutter. But I need to make sure I'm actually on the cutter. So I'm going to get this up to the 8 1/4 mark, and that should line me right up, and I should be able to cut this, hopefully. No, it's not cutting right where I want it to, so one moment, I'm going to get a different cutter. So many cutters that do so many things, so I'm going to use one that uses compression so I can actually see where I'm going. So I'm going to put this on here on that line. And then I am just going to get that all the way down to that score line that goes this direction. Don't want to go past that. And that got rid of that. So then you just have this 1/4 inch. Now you could add paper. For me, I don't feel the need to add any paper to it, so I am just simply going to try to use that 1/4 inch. Normally you would have a 1/2 inch. And if you don't feel comfortable with just the 1/4 inch, by all means, add some paper to the end. But I am going to fold my 1/4 inch over and get it nicely burnished as well as I can. 1/4 inches are a little more difficult, as we all know, but I am going to do my best here. And then you also want this 1/2 inch gusset on the bottom of the page to fold up and smooth that out, and then just pull at your 5.5 where we did the 6 1/4. We just want to make sure that everything is going to line up before we do any burnishing or any gluing. Because this is a pocket page, we want everything to line up so that we have a nice crisp pocket. And mine is doing so. So I'm going to go in and I'm going to miter the edges of that 1/4 inch. I'm just going to miter that a bit so it lines up with the others. And then I am going to add glue to that 1/4 inch. Be very careful not to get the glue anywhere but on that gusset. And then we're going to put glue down here on the 1/2 inch. And you could simply make a 5.5 inch page cover separate if you didn't want to do all of this. It is a little more tedious this way. And of course that 1/4 inch can be kind of a pain. And I want to make sure that my 1/4 inch doesn't go over the line where we made for the 1/4 inch of give space. So be mindful of that as well. And that looks like it works. And I'm just going to put that down. Give that a good burnish. At the bottom a good burnish. And reburnish the side. And we have a top pocket page. Mine is not wanting to, there we go, lay down as well as I would like it to, but it is fine. I am going to take my bone folder here. I'm not getting the greatest of stick down here. I am just going to go over that a bit. All right, so there's your top pocket page. Now we have our 5.5, 1/2 and 1/4, and we have our pocket page. So next what we're going to do is we are going to make this fun sliding mechanism that looks like this. This is not it, but ours is a different size. This is going to slide, and you will have mats here, and when it slides up, mine is a little tight because this is a cheap paper rendition of it. We will have one that slides down, okay? And then, of course, you put that over the middle, and you have this. Okay, so for that, we have a few pieces. I need this piece, these two, and these two. So you will have 2 little pieces that are gussets for the back that are 1 by 5, 1 extension that is 5 by 5, 1 that is 5 by 12, and then the wrap that goes around is 4 by 12. Okay? For the 5 by 12, you want to put this in your scoreboard with the 12 across the top, and we're going to score this at 4 1/8. Okay. Then what you want to do, I like to draw a line for mine because, well, you know, things happen and sometimes we don't get our measurements exact, and I like exact. So I'm just going to make a line at the half mark here. So I kind of know where to line up my extension, which is this 5 by 5. And then what you want to do is make sure that you have 8 1/4 and 4 1/8. So we'll have from that score line, 8 1/4 is going to end at the 8 1/4, and that's going to leave us, wait, that's not correct. Let's see here. 8. Sometimes we have to adjust because we're adding paper. So it might not be a full half here that we put this on. We need to make sure that we have 8 1/4 from this score line. So if you want to, fold over the one that we scored, so the 4 1/8. I apologize, I'm kind of doing this. I did the prototype, and I am not a mathematician by any means. So you can imagine it took a little time. So we want to make sure that we have 8 1/4. 8 1/4 is going to line up right here. And that's not going to leave us quite enough. So this is going to have to go back. We're not going to put this at half. It's probably going to be more like 3/8, or you can add to your paper. I'm probably confusing everybody. That's too much. So yeah, this paper probably should be 5 1/8, but if you've already cut yours, then you will have to adjust. So we're going to put that on, and I'm going to add that. I'm going to add mine at 1/4 of an inch, and I'm going to cut off any excess is what I'm going to do. That way I don't have to worry about having not enough or too much. So there's our extension. So now that I have this first portion folded over, I want to simply go down to 8 1/4, and I'm going to score. And this is where we want to see. We're going to flip this around, and I can see that I have too much. So I need to put this in my cutter, line that score line at 4 1/8, and trim. And that will give me my 4 1/8. Okay? So now what you're going to do is we're going to also fold that one in and make sure everything is nice and lined up. Don't completely burnish it because we don't want these to touch. So you have to adjust just a little bit before you burnish. So you're just going to bring these so that they touch, but they don't overlap, and then burnish outward so that they have a little teeny space between them. I mean, you don't want too much space. All right. So see, this is what I have. Mine will freely move, and we still are at 8 1/4, which is perfect. It's just a matter of kind of manipulating your paper so that you have that. And you could actually make this even more. You could fold it so that when it folds, this folds up and folds up again. Very, very fun little way to do things. So your 2 1 by 5, we're going to put those in our scoreboard with the 1, and we're going to score them at half. These are gussets for the back. And we will fold those over. to make 1/2-inch gussets and miter those. Isn't paper fun? So many things that you find that you can do with paper. So we're going to flip this over and we are going to burnish our little gussets we just made. Add glue to one side. Like so. And then we just want to put that up in the top. Make sure you're on the back side, not the front. And we are going to get that right up in there. And that will be the top one. Flip it around. Do the same thing with this one. Glue on one side. And make sure the folded side is on the top. And I'm just going to put that up in there. All right, so now you have gussets and you have your slider. Now, for the wrapped portion, what you're going to do is you're very simply going to put this across here. We want to line this up so we have the same, approximately the same amount of space on both sides of the paper. And then flip it over. This one is very difficult to measure. We're going to loosely fold, but you want to get right to the edge of the paper and kind of loosely fold this over. And we'll do the same thing with the other side. And then we're going to line this up a little neater. So I can kind of see where I need to put my score lines now. And it looks like 3 1/8 on that side and 8 1/4 over here. Then what you want to do is grab, if you have the CCC spacers, they work great. I need to grab mine because they're not on my desk where they belong. If you don't have them, you can use a ruler. Anything that has about 1/8 of an inch straight edge. And I learned this little tip doing this from our own Tiffany from Let's Get Scrappy. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go up to those lines that I made and kind of wrap the paper around, and I'm going to get that 1/8 of an inch. Much easier and straighter than if I would have put it in my scoreboard. It's just going to give me a little give. So I'm putting it kind of at an angle into that score line. And then just kind of rubbing it with my finger. And it's just going to give me that little extra that's needed. Then what I want to do is adjust. We want this to be fairly straight. We don't want a big old crooked, because we're going to put paper on this as well. This will go on the page, which I cannot put on until I decorate. But before you put it on the page, we'll put this around and make sure that it moves freely. And once you know that it moves freely, then you can add glue. And like I said, you can measure this all out and make it all perfect on the back if you choose to. I did not choose to do that. I like the wrap and adjust method for this. All right. So now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go on the sides and kind of straighten with the back of my bone folder. So that's more of a squared look. Same with this side. And that's going to give us a more equal square look. So when you put this down on the page, you will have the gussets glued down to the page. And then this will slide and slide up and down. Let's grab our page. And I will put it on here with repositionable tape so that you can see what I mean. So when you have this decorated, then you can add your glue where I'm putting this. And then this will go on the page like a normal belly band would go. We will line this up top and bottom. There's about a 1/4 inch of space on either side, and that's what we want. And of course, mine's not going to stick real well because this is repositionable tape. So I am just showing you kind of a rough idea. So this will be on the page like so, and this will move up and down. And you can also put something underneath there, but you would need to take it out before you try to slide your slider. So you'll have this, and this one will move. I feel, there we go. And then you'll slide it down all the way to the bottom, and then this one will move up. Okay? All right, I'm going to set mine aside because it's bulky. And we are going to do the back side. So make sure that you're on with your top and this to the side. We're going to make a waterfall that is 8 pages, and we're going to put it on a belly band. So the belly band is 3.5 by 9 1/4. I'm going to put this in the scoreboard at 9 1/4, and we're going to score at half. Flip it around and score at half on the other end. So we're scoring at half on both sides. And then we will miter. On both sides of both of those. Fold those down and burnish. Okay. For the waterfall, you're going to have 4 pieces. And you've seen me do these before, these stacked waterfalls. So we have one at 4 by 11.5, one at 4 by 10.5, one at 4 by 9.5, and one at 4 by 8.5. I'm going to pull that out. All of these are very simply going to go in your scoreboard and be scored at 4 on both sides. So we're going to go 4, flip it around, 4. Okay. Go to the next one, which is the 10.5 inch long piece. We're going to score at 4. Flip it around and score at 4. Next one is the 9.5 inch length. We're going to score at 4. Flip it around, score at 4. And the last one, which is 8.5, we're going to do the same thing. 4 and 4. Okay. Then what you want to do is you want to flip your scoreboard around. Grab your pieces. The largest one goes into the scoreboard. And I'm going to push my scoreboard up to make sure you can see what I'm doing. All right. The next largest one, you want to fold. Let's see which green I have here. That's fine. I'm going to fold down one side, make sure that it's all in a line with everything. Don't do any burnishing just yet until we make sure. Now that I know it's all nice and lined up, I can give it a burnish. This area back here is where we're going to add glue just up to that score line. I'm going to grab this and we're going to place this on where the scoreboard shows 4.5. You want to line everything up, making sure that everything lines up as it should. And mine is looking a little over there, and I'm not quite sure why that is. So let me fix this. There we go. All right, now I'm going to open this up, burnish all that glue, and leave it open. And I'm going to go to my next one, and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to fold at one of the score lines, make sure the paper is all lined up, give it a burnish, and we're going to add glue to this section. I need to fill my glue up. And this one will go down at the 5. Once everything is in line, and you can flip that open. And I feel like that one slid a little, but that's all right. Okay, leave that open, and we'll put our final one in. Again, we're just going to fold it over on one of the score lines, leaving that little 1/2 inch space, which is the last one we have. Add glue to that, and this one will go in by the 5.5. And for some reason, mine looks a little offish. I'm not quite sure. All right. All right, then we're going to go through and we're just going to burnish all of our glue and fold on all the score lines and line them up one at a time. Make sure that you're pulling them into the scoreboard so that we get a nice straight waterfall. And then the last one. There we go. All right. And that is our waterfall. Cool, huh? Love it. All right. So this will go on our B side. You will put your belly band down once the paper is decorated. In the middle of the page, the waterfall will go on top of that. Okay? All right. So we have one signature left, which is signature 3. Grab those pieces. Signature 3 has a couple different pieces here. We'll start with our base. This is a, I don't know why I put, oh, it's a pocket topper. So our base is 6.5 by 8.25. And then our topper will be 6.5 by 9.25. Okay? Did I do that right? 6. Yes, 6 by 9.25. Okay. So put your 6.5 by 8.25 in, and we're going to score this at 1/2 and at 3/4. Okay. Your topper, you're going to put in at the 9.25. We're going to score it at 1/2. We are going to turn, so it's at the 6. We're going to score it at 1/2. We're going to turn again, so it's back at the 9.25, and we're going to score it 1/2. Then we just want to miter all of our edges. These two, I miter at the cross section, and then of course the edges of these two. I'm going to fold mine in so I don't see any of that writing. And before I give it a hard burnish, I'm just going to line everything up and make sure that I'm in line. So I'm going to dry fit this again and just make sure that I'm getting what I need from this and that it's not too big or too small. And it's good. Okay, so now we can burnish our score lines. all the way around. We're going to do this one as well. All right. And I am going to start with the wide one, the very back one. I should say long one. I'm going to add glue to it first. I just feel like when you do one at a time, it gives you a little bit of better, easier time for placement. My base piece, I'm going to fold down at that second score line, which is the beginning of our 1/4 inch of give space. And I'm going to butt that up into my scoreboard. And then I can easily put this piece right up in there to give me a guide. And then when I pull it out, I can adjust if I need to, which mine actually went in there quite straight. I go ahead and burnish that. Open it up and burnish it some more. Get rid of any of this excess glue so stuff doesn't all stick together. And then again, I'm just going to pull on this and make sure that everything lines up, and it does. Pull that out, and we are going to add our glue to our top and bottom gussets. And when I pull these over, I am very carefully going to line them up with my page. And mine is a little over as far as width. So I'm going to have to do a little trimming on mine, I think. Yeah, it happens. Sometimes paper slips, moves when you glue it, and that is probably what mine did. No, actually it lined up. No, it's a little over 5.5 now. Okay. I'm going to adjust that just a bit off camera. You know what? I can do it on camera. Just want to line this up with that 5.5 and see if anything comes off. Nope. Maybe just a tad right there. That's fine. Okay. So that is the base of Signature 3. Now, Signature 3, side A, we are going to have 3 flaps that cascade over a pocket. So you will have one that is 5 by 7.5, one that is 4.5 by 7.25, and one that is 4 by 7. And I seem to have lost my pocket. All right, so your pocket, you will need a 6.5 by 3. Now, chances are you might need a little bit less than 6.5 by 3, but I'm going to double check what I got going on here, and this is exactly 5.5, so we should be fine, but we'll see. So we're going to start with that pocket. We're going to put that in at the 6.5. We're going to score at half on 3 sides. So you're going to go half, turn. I always like to put mine right at the 2.5, 3, whatever I'm doing. So I will score on that to make sure, just in case I cut wrong. And then half again on this side. All right. And then I'm going to go in and I am going to miter all of my corners. I always end up with so many pieces of corner paper everywhere. It's craziness. All right, I'm going to go in and I am going to fold on my score lines gently. I'm not going to do any burnishing yet because I do want to dry fit this really quick. Where'd my page go? Here we go. And that is a great fit. Okay. I like it when it fits. I don't think I mitered this one quite enough. Fold that over. I'm going to trim that just a wee bit more on both sides. Sometimes if you don't get right above that corner score, it leaves this little dimple in the paper, which drives me crazy. All right, and I don't like that. All right, there we go. So I'm going to start with my pocket. I'm just going to go in and I am going to burnish my score line so I get a nice crisp pocket. And then I can add glue to those gussets. I can very easily decorate before I, wow, Jen can't talk. I can very easily decorate this by sliding it into the pocket, but I did forget we do need to put this under first. So what I have here is just a 1.5 by 5.5, and we're going to put this in at the 5.5, and we're going to score it at half. And we are going to miter that to make it kind of like a tab. And I need to glue this under that pocket first. So I'm going to add glue to the back. And I want to try to get this in the middle of the page, or as close as is possible, because this will act as a band and it'll have a magnet on it to hold our cascades. So there's that. Okay, that's on. Now we can stick our pocket on top of that. I'm gonna add a little more glue just in case some of it dried. Add my pocket. Beauty. All right, that went on nicely. All right, I got a little extra glue going here. Zhuzh that up a bit. So then we're going to fold this over that pocket. Get it nice and straight, and then burnish it as well, because you're going to need that little give, like so. All right, so for the cascades, we're going to put each one of these. This is our 5 by 7.5. We're going to put it in at 7.5. We're going to score it half. Same thing with the 4 by 7. We're going to put it in at 7. We are going to score it at half. Oh, for crying out loud, my paper doesn't want to cooperate with me today. Same thing with the 4.5 by 7.25. I'm sorry, I did those out of order. We are going to score that one at half as well. And I'm going to rescore this one so I get all the way up and down. Okay. Super simple stuff. Each one of these, we're going to miter the edges of our 1/2 inch gusset there. All right, fold and burnish all of those score lines. Then I am going to stack these in my scoreboard to do this. I want these, they should be 1/4 inch apart on either side. I'm going to add glue to the second one here. My bottom one is the 5 by 7.5. This is the 4.5 by 7.25. I'm going to go right up to that corner line on my scoreboard and go. And if it doesn't look straight, just adjust. All right, and then we're going to do the same thing with the 4x7. Add glue, put that in, and I am going to go to the 1/2 inch mark, which would be the next quarter, and the 1/2 inch mark on that side. Everything is lining up, and I can burnish. All right, that leaves us with that back one, which is what you want. That you will add glue. And you can put them together in the book if you prefer. I just like doing it this way. I'm going to flip my piece over so I'm right at that 5.5. And I am going to put this in at my quarter mark on both sides. And then I can line it up and adjust. I'm going to flip that all the way open and give it a good burnish on the inside as well. So you'll have these that drop down, your pocket underneath. This will have one of the journaling cards, probably a 4x4, maybe the larger one, I'm not sure yet. You'll see when you see the decorated version. And there'll be a magnet that you will place down here. And there will be a magnet on the back of this that will catch with that magnet. On the flip side, the B side, what you're going to have is some vertical pockets. And these are both 2.5 by 9.25. I'm going to put these on our scoreboard at the 9.25. We're going to score it half. We are going to flip this one around and we are going to score it at 2. Flip this around and we are going to score at half. Okay, that's our bottom one. For the top pocket, I'll flip this over. I want to score this at half. Flip it all the way around and score at half. And then I'm going to put it this way, and I am just going to mark that 2 down to the score line. And then you can count 4 spaces in your scoreboard to do it on the end. So that'll give you these 2 little squares, okay? What you want to do with those 2 little squares is cut them out. We don't need those. Cut them all out of there. And then I'm going to miter what's left here. So I want to miter that, and I want to miter that. I'm going to miter that, and I'm going to miter that. And I'm also going to miter the tops. Now, for me, because I like precision, I will usually put this back in and make that mark at the 2 really light. I'm not going to push down. I'm just pushing enough that I can see it. So when I put it in the book, I know that it lines up. So I'm going to burnish these 2 for this one only. Just those side ones. And you can see I need to do just a wee bit more mitering. I don't want that little overhang there, because this needs to fit in the other pocket. The other pocket, I am simply going to miter at the cross sections and the tops. This one we need to put on and dry fit first, and these will go this way on our page. And those fit just fine. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and fold and burnish my bottom one. Like I said, I like my pockets as crisp as I can get them. I'm going to add my glue to my gussets. Goodness. And I want to back this up to my 1/4 inch give space there. But I'm going to pull this out and just make sure before I do any burnishing that everything is in line, and it is. Don't want any overhang. Now I can burnish. Nice and crisp. All right, and then this pocket should fit up to that little line that I made right inside there, like so. And mine fits like a dream. So we don't need to fold this one down. You just have your 2 sides. I'm going to give those a quick burnish now that I know that the dry fit fits. Add glue to just those 2 side tabs. And we're going to slide this one in up to the line, and you'll get a nice straight pocket. All right, look at that. Love it when it works. All right, and give that a burnish on both sides. And there you have your double pockets. Now I might add something to this. I'm not quite sure if I'm going to do a belly. I might put a belly band on here to put other stuff on. I'm not quite sure yet, though. You will have seen that in my walkthrough. So that is all of the signatures. I am going to clean up my mess, and I will be back with what we are going to do on the inside, front, and back cover of the album, and then we will finish it up. All right, so to finish off this album, I'm gonna show you what I'm gonna put in the front and the back cover. For the front cover, we're going to have a bottom pocket, very simple, 7.5 by 4. We're gonna score that at half on 3 sides. So we'll just go ahead and do that. I am gonna put this in my scoreboard at that 7.5. I'm gonna score at half. Flip it around, and I am gonna score at half on the other side. And then I'm gonna flip it to the 4. Jen can't talk. And I'm going to score at 3.5 because I want a 3.5 inch pocket. Okay. Hopefully I did that right. Yes, I did. Okay. So I'm not going to adhere these because obviously I need to decorate the inside cover background first, but I am going to show you where they go. I'm going to miter these. And if I add anything when I decorate, I will definitely have gone over that in my walkthrough, and you will have seen if I added any other things to the decorating portion. So this we will just fold and burnish. I'm actually going to fold it to the other side so that you can't see my writing. And I want to dry fit this real quick. Oof, that is not a good score line. Let's do that again. My score lines are kind of off here, and I'm not quite sure. I think it's time for a new bone folder maybe, or I need to sharpen this one because I know you can sharpen these. All right, let's try that again. It just did not go where it was supposed to go as far as being an actual 1/2 inch gusset. That's better. Okay. Let's try that again. I'm going to dry fit that. Make sure that we're fitting in there. And it might just be a little bit skinny on either side. That's okay. It just makes the book move quicker, easier. So you will fold and burnish on those score lines. And once this is decorated, this will fit right on the bottom here. Okay. So that is our bottom pocket. Okay, so for the back inside cover pocket, mine is already decorated, so I could show you how this goes down. You've probably already seen it in the walkthrough, but I wanted to do this back a little bit different than my front inside cover. So I did a pocket just like this one, but a little bit taller, and then I put my 3x4 on here, popped up on Black Artisan to make a little tuck pocket just by gluing around those edges. So that'll be a little extra tuck spot. And to do that, we just need a piece that is just under 7.5. So you're going to go about a 1/16 of an inch less, just so it fits nicely in the book. And that'll be 4.5 inches tall. We're going to go in at the 7, approximately, it's like 7 5/16 is what I'm going to say. Just a little bit less than 7.5. We're going to score at half. I'm going to turn and I'm going to score at 4 because I want a 4-inch pocket. And then I'm going to turn again and I'm going to score at half. And that's going to give us this right here. I am going to miter at the cross sections on the bottom there. And of course at the tops of my gussets. Just like I do all my pockets. And then I need to grab my bone folder. Just burnish this really, really well because we want a nice, crisp, flat pocket. I usually try to do my sides first and then the bottom. It really doesn't matter what order you do it in. It will work. So then this, as you can see, you can glue on your gussets and place that right in there. And always dry fit first, just to make sure that you can still move your book and move it more towards the outside edge than the inside. That way you don't have to worry about it getting in. It gets stuck sometimes in here. And even though we have a 1/2 inch space here, you don't want that to get stuck. So that is how that is done. And of course, all we have left to do is to put the signatures in. Very simple. Add your score tape or glue and line them up on your gussets. Gusset to gusset. We have 1/2 inch gussets on our pages, and those will just line up right on top of there. All right. Okay, so that is this album in its entirety. We just have to put our pages on, like I said, and this will be all done, and you will see how I did that in my walkthrough. This album could be made in any paper. You can make a Christmas album out of this with some of the newer Christmas papers or something you have in your stash. It does not have to be a Halloween album. It's just a lot of fun. Flips and flaps and places for photos. And this one was really fun, but I really do love this Halloween collection. It was super cute. So I hope you guys make this and share it with us. Have a wonderful crafty day. Bye-bye for now.